Alright? So you can use those, relate any problems to it. So, again, now look at the third one we have, a fair method of judging performance. Alright? They are profit centers, so bring up in there, so you need to be fair to them, because each one they need to make profit. But if your transfer pricing policy is forcing me to buy internally from A, and A deliberately now I try dig out my eye, really right, dig out my eye, but you know what I mean by that in Jamaica. Because they want to make the most profit. One to the other subsidiaries, them don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. And their performance will never ever be good because you require us to do it. So that's not a fair basis for judging my performance. Right? No, I was judging now the fair basis, the fair measure, right? And again, all three areas, all three bases have examples from the case. Yeah. So we can use that. And that's why again I always make the point that evaluate for sure and assess in most cases means start with the basis. And then you are doing it not because, oh sir, did something to start with the basis. No, you're going to use that basis to answer your questions. Evaluate what is that where I start with a basis. Because evaluate really means to what extent. Judge the value of something. The only way we can judge the value of something is if we clearly state the basis on which we're doing the judgment. And that way, yeah. Alright? It's like, and many of you may not necessarily be sports fans, but it's just one of those things where argument always, who's the best footballer ever? What's the best football team ever? Who's the greatest basketball player ever? And it can go on and on and on. Is it Michael Jordan? Is it LeBron James? Blah, 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 blah. But everybody will have that argument and have them bases. Why are you rating LeBron over Michael Jordan? And people are thinking, why are you rating Jordan over LeBron? Well, let's look at the number of championship rings where them win. Because you know all them help them side, the clutch play, basis. No basis, cannot evaluate. Alright? So we don't just start writing stuff, guys. Set the basis and then tell the examiner. So if I have three things you're going to assess it by, tell the examiner these are the three things. And they discuss them one by one by one. Alright? And for transfer pricing policy, those are the three bases. We don't even use nothing else. The examiner never totally follow what I just said in terms of that approach, right? He kind of followed most of it, but he never explicitly, because he started with the autonomy or whatever, but he never fully followed it. But in his answer, he said, well, they expect students to actually use the basis. It's just that he didn't want to write it different. And we're not writing like him anyway, right? You just use the basis. Keep it simple, get your points. Alright? Which was the other one now again? Oh. Assess the director, advise the directors whether LLA should use a market value transfer price as suggested by the manager of subsidiary C. How we start this? How do we approach this?
Okay, so what is the advantage of the market value
Okay.
versus internal generation?
Alright. So like what would come up now when you mention that?
Not a clue.
But you sounded so confident when you said something there. What are they? The pros and cons? This is an advice, so it's not one of the words that we see very often.
There are profits.
So they are a profit center, yeah. They're all profit centers, yeah. What else? When do you suggest that they use market price? Market, yeah. Yeah, when should they use market value transfer price?
You can't do the right one internal. Why would you have a market transfer price? Who has a market transfer?
Because you
Yeah.
don't buy things on the market, you know.
So whatever it is that you'd have paid if you bought it, that's a market transfer price.
Right.
Yes.
So how I would start, my answer to that is market value transfer price is appropriate where an external market exists.
Okay,
Yes.
makes sense.
And in a way now that becomes a basis because I can link and say, guess what, there an external market exists
In each of the
in
subsidiaries.
each of the subsidiaries.
Now, in
So,
Zealand,
right.
that's what we're using for Zealand.
So guess what? It passed the first threshold.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So you said the market, okay.
All right. So the very first thing is to tell us under what conditions market transfer price would be appropriate. All right. So give us that.
Yes.
So again, it is a use of the knowledge, guys, that becomes. I try to find something there, but anyway, the camera has a little problem. Right. So use that as, yeah, it's not a true basis as we normally refer to it, but it's a price. It's a basis. Yeah.
But sir, you can have a market value transfer price
If you don't.
market.
Yeah.
If they
And
don't-
remember, we're asked if we should advise the directors whether they should use it or not. So it's a basis for our advice. Yeah.
I mean, although it's another question, so you will get two questions in the exam. Remember the first question we did when they were using information from, which one we do again a while ago? The one before.
Oh, which one we do a while ago? I will do a while ago.
They were using
Pit lane. I know I use
using information
fish and from wherever.
Yeah,
Yeah, from
right.
wherever, right, yeah.
They really could not judge the basis of a good target cost
Right.
because they did not have a market.
Right. Alright. So that is part of the thing that we want to do as well. Want to highlight. So put that in. I would start
With that.
with that. We're not starting with anything else. I would say market value transfer pricing is appropriate where an external market exists. Alright? And in this case, yes, an external market exists. Alright? Why am I suggesting market price? Market value transfer price?
Competitive.
It allows the division
Oh,
manager,
okay.
one, them not wasting a lot of time on negotiations,
Yeah.
and they will always make the best decision for themselves and the company
So goal
as a
congruence.
result. So the goal congruence will come in.
Yes.
Everybody say that?
Yes.
So here's the thing. Why am I suggesting market price? Because remember, if a market price exists, you know, and that becomes the basis of the transfer, it means both the selling division and the buying division can either sell internally or buy externally, or vice versa, depending on where they're getting the best price. Mhm.
But are they mandated not to buy
No,
internal?
so- no.
Not finish with that.
So we're saying if you use market value, it can be mandated.
Yes.
Or you can't?
Right, yeah. Alright? So as the basis of your transfer price, because the idea behind it is that I now have an opportunity to buy outside or buy inside. Alright?
So maybe point 3, not or point 2, we can point to before, is that then if they should use market value transfer price, then you would have to give the divisional managers more autonomy and get rid of the KPI of the
Right, yeah. So that would come in because remember market value transfer price is of little use if you're forcing persons to buy internally. The only reason it becomes effective, the only reason it becomes useful is if the condition exists that they can either buy inside or buy outside because that provides them with the best price. Alright? Otherwise, you can't be forcing persons to buy internally and tell them say how to use market price. The idea behind market price, which is one of the disadvantages that would bring up as a market price, that market price is not consistent, it changes. Right? And it changes sometimes because of supply and demand. And so internal persons have to go keep monitoring and adjusting for those kind of things. Alright? But if the KPIs still exist that they must buy 90%,
You can't.
yeah,
The market value transfer. It won't make any sense.
yeah, then it will mess up the whole idea of the market value. 'Cause look at the things that we're saying. Because you get the option to buy inside or outside.
So I'm trying to understand, you're saying if you have a market transfer pricing, and transfer price is what one division sells to the other.
Right.
So you're going to say, okay, you're going to sell at $10 because if you had sold it externally, you would have had sold it at $10. So
Right.
say $10 is,
Right.
you're saying if you have a market transfer pricing, you cannot you cannot enforce the
We
price.
don't recommend that you be enforcing them to in other words, we're not encouraging that you force them to buy internally. Because again now, as you mentioned, the $10, what if internally now you decide because they have to buy from you that I'm not selling at $10, I'm selling at 12. That is defeating the whole purpose of the market price.
The external market price and the
Right.
transfer price is the same,
Right.
but the quality is different.
And what if the quality is different? And what if the market price goes down? So you are selling it at $10, it's now at 9. Why should subsidiary B be paying $10 for it? when subsidiary B could go to the road and get it for $9?
So it's our recommendation that you don't have, if you're using the market transfer price.
Then it mustn't be an enforced
It shouldn't be.
requirement. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah. Now we don't have to now change that.
It's an advice.
It's just an advice right again. Yeah, thing. So we're saying if you're going to use it, we would recommend that you allow them to buy any which way, whichever one have the best price.
The profit center will affect the bottom line, would it? Because you're doing whatever is out there, you're selling at the price out there.
Right.
So you're not worse off.
Yeah, it shouldn't be work right, and the group shouldn't be worse off either, because whichever which way it happens, it means therefore that both the selling division and the buying division makes the best decision for themselves and therefore for the group, right? Because the selling division though not forced to subsidize their price, and the buying division are not forced to pay extra. Alright? And they will only buy or sell internally if the price matches up with the external.
So
Alright?
although this is not in the for the advisement, but you know what could happen? Make the center of excellence another division,
And then probably to be like what a cost center.
or
not necessarily
something, and you
right.
buy from them, so they would have to be a competitor in the market with everybody else.
Right.
So they would have to fight for subsidiary A, B, C
Right.
business.
But yeah.
No, this is not in the question.
Right,
I'm
that's not
just
the
saying.
question, but I understand, for example, because one of the main things, which I think is Deborah's concern, is that this KPI, as long as it's staying there, it's not going to work the way we suggest market stuff supposed to work. All right? Because you're literally forcing, and you're going to end up back in a situation where the selling division is the monopoly, and we don't have any monopoly where people just agree to be nice.
Yeah.
It don't happen. Monopolies are nasty for a particular reason. If you don't have anybody pressuring them, there is no desire, there is no need, to push price down to be competitive, right? And as such, if you notice, when digital came and digital was dominating cable and wireless and whatever, my concern, and a bunch of other persons' concern, was that you can't have digital going operate in Jamaica or it's going to die. It's a situation that happens with monopoly. And now it looks like cable and wireless and make a little thing and digital now kind of trouble. At the same time, we don't want digital to dead because you don't want, you don't want cable and wireless to be the monopoly. Right.
So the reason why cable and wireless is in this problem is because they were the monopoly. And people just hate them
And
from
people
it.
hate them, yeah. I remember they never did anything for us in terms of reducing pricing and when they had
Innovation
so,
or
and we had the old phones, and remember when somebody accidentally called your
Remember
number,
iPads?
somebody accidentally called your number, you have to pay for the call. So both outgoing and incoming calls you pay for on them. Yeah. Right? And as you mentioned now, ICAs, and look, the calling overseas is not even a problem now. Everybody can just go straight on them phone and call.
WhatsApp.
And it was such a big deal
Or
before.
Skype.
Trust me.
Right? So we're not like, so that's the thing. So we're aware that I think they actually put it in, they put in the KPI thing about the whatever.
Yeah.
So if the market value is going to work so that they can get all the benefits from the market value, probably ought not to force persons to buy internally. Right? Right, so I was going through some of the stuff where I would suggest market value. If an external market exists, one, if you really want to tie it in better to stuff like gold congruence, where the two divisions make self-interest decisions, but it work out to be for the overall best for the company, then you can do market value. And of course, it would also be a fair assessment as well. But look at a good thing for, well, not necessarily a good thing for market value, a point that we can make around market value in this case. Because they are internally traded, we like the idea of market value, yes, but we want to go a little further than market value. So we now, having said all of that, we're going to almost conclude that section by saying, as a matter of fact, we want them to go further than market value. We recommend that you use adjusted market value transfer price. Everybody know why we suggested adjusted market value transfer price? And the case did mention it. The case says, look at the case said the manager was charging them.
Oh, a big Marco.
Right. So, so this is on the subsidiary B, where they say no formal, the second paragraph, no formal, blah 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 blah. Look at what it says is included in that cost. A portion, portions that not supposed to in there,
Exactly.
and an allowance for bad debts and marketing expenses. Those are stuff that you would have if you have external customers, the bad debts and marketing expenses. So those should come out. Alright? So we would suggest adjusted market price. Alright? So how you present the case, it's like you really argue strongly in favor of market price, and then you say, oh, by the way, it's not really market price, you know. I would suggest adjusted market price. Alright? And then you tell the examiner what you mean by adjusted market price. You say, these things must come out because a portion overhead should be charged, one, and two, the other two items have to do with external sales. This is an internal sales. Don't include those. Alright? And then before we wrap up now, we're bringing some of the weaknesses of whether it be market price or adjusted market price. And of course is that the price is not fixed. It's constantly changing, right? Yeah. So it require a little more time, yeah. Right? So that might cause like a problem to keep finding out what the price is and doing it and whatever. Alright? All right, clear? So that's how we deal with that, and that's how we deal with our transfer pricing policy. If you notice, even the 3 criteria came back again in the market value transfer. It's because those 3 criteria are key to any transfer pricing decision.
Okay.
So that's why we can use them again even in this. We're not stress the emphasis as much as we did in part B, but we can still make reference to them. Alright? Alright, clear? You alright, Carol? Alright. Alright, let's look at this number 3 one there. S-Berry. And it's a very short case. There's an appendix around the back. There are three requirements. The first part of the requirement is oh. Alright, look at the requirements. A. Advise which of the 3 newly developed products each of the 3 stakeholder groups would choose to export to KLAN based on their respective risk appetites. So we'll come back to that again. Because you say risk appetites and things supposed to go to your head because you know everybody's supposed to know risk appetite already. But let's read B. Explain the problems of using the risk on uncertainty analysis techniques which you have used in part A. Oh, but if you use that in a part A, okay, see? Thank God we read part B because now we realize if you use it in a part A, alright? Explain the problems of using the risk on uncertainty analysis. What do you mean by risk on uncertainty analysis, by the way? Right, yeah. So risk is expected value because risk is quantifiable. So we can use expected value. The others have to do with uncertainty. So that's the minimax, maximin, and the maximin, the maximax, maximin, and the minimax regret. Right? All of those are work with uncertainty. In many instances, the maximin and the minimax regret, since they are both risk averse, therefore risk averse decision makers, chances are we don't need to use both of them unless he specifically tells us to use both of them. So the maximin is used by a risk averse manager. So is the minimax regret. And note he mentioned there about risk appetites. Alright, so we know that we're probably here about somebody who is risk averse. We don't need to use both of them. Alright? Only if he specifically told us to use both of them. So it's one of them we're going to use. We're not going to use. So chances are it means that we're going to use the maximax, that's uncertainty, but that's for the risk seeker. We're going to use minimax, that's uncertainty again, but that's for the risk averse. And it probably means that we'll use expected value, that's for the risk neutral individual. Alright? And if you notice, those were 3 things that we gave, and it's 3 things that they are asking us to make some decisions on.
So the expected value is for certainty and also for neutral, or?
Right, it's for certainty and it's used by the risk neutral decision maker. Certainty means that the risk can be quantified.
Okay.
So in terms of the likelihood and the impact. Alright? Uncertainty just means that we can't work out likelihood and impact. Right. Yeah. All right. And then part C, advise the shareholders how analyzing the external environment in Kalan using a pest analysis can help Sberry maximize its performance there. You are not required to produce a pest analysis. All right? But all you're going to do is advise the shareholders how analyzing the external environment in Kalan using a pest analysis can help Sberry maximize its performance there. So it probably means that you have got to demonstrate some examples of pests by
Yeah.
but it's just that you don't want to do a pest. So you always say something like if we do this analysis, we can be aware of these things that are happening and plan for them, X, Y, Z, like the government doing something or there's a downturn in the economy, blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. Alright? And related to the case. Alright, so let's look at the company itself, Sberry. Sberry manufactures products which have a short life cycle due to technological obsolescence. So immediately Matilda said, the thing didn't last long. It aims to keep each product in production for at least 18 months so that it can recover the high cost of product development and make an acceptable profit before the product becomes obsolete. So it's like the lifespan of that product there is 18 months. Sberry has always manufactured its products in its home country of D-land, from where all materials are also sourced. So sit man tell you for them homeland there, and love give it the two country them all the while. Right? So you know so many questions we do have two different countries. So the home country is D-land. Now if you look at the next paragraph, it's a sales opportunity in Kalan. That's one different country now. I wonder if that means they might bring in foreign currency conversion and all that kind of thing. Alright? An opportunity has been identified to export one of 3 newly developed products, red, blue, and green, to Kalan due to citizens' increasing level of income there. The rate of technological obsolescence is slower in Kalan than in D-land. The estimated levels of demand, selling prices, and the cost of the 3 products are shown in Appendix 1. Alright? So we'll figure Appendix 1, how I come into it. Shareholders' view on the risk of the Kalan opportunity. Stakeholders' views on the risk of the Stakeland opportunity. 3 of Sberry's key stakeholder groups, employees, directors, and shareholders, have been consulted for their views on the proposal to export to Kalan, and in particular, on which of the 3 newly developed products to export there. The employees have a cautious approach. Sounds like they are what?
Risk averse.
Right. So they have a cautious approach. I can't understand why this thing keeps stopping.